So my name is Cliff Sweazey. I have been at Crossroads for about, me and my family have been coming here for about 12 years now. But I didn't grow up in church. My parents didn't grow up in church. Their parents didn't grow up in church. It wasn't anything against church. It just wasn't a value that they had. I didn't come from like a broken home or troubled home or anything. My parents were not big partiers, never smoked, never did drugs. Matter of fact, my parents are still married. But I, from an early age, I kind of had a different plan that was just not quite so even flow. I had, as a teen, did like a lot of other teens, I experimented with some drugs and alcohol and things like that. But that was just being a kid. But as I got older, it was no longer experimenting. Found myself in my mid-20s with 2 divorces, 2 children by 2 different mothers, already struggling with major addiction and alcoholism. It affected some of my relationships and affected work and everything else. And that never really got much better for many years. I kept trying to fill a void that I had in my life. I didn't know what the void was, but I tried to fill it with alcohol, drugs, relationships, work, money. It didn't matter. It was one thing after another, and it was only satisfying for a short amount of time, and then I was back to feeling empty again. Fast forward, I met this woman who's now my wife of over 20 years. And this woman grew up in church, grew up in Catholic schools, and had family that were deacons in the church. So that was my first real introduction into religion, was going from nothing to attending Mass. And it was eye-opening for me. But I had so many questions. So I kind of went through the motions. I did attend her, go to church with her some. There was no relationship. It was just I was doing it for her, with her and her family. I felt like there was more that we could do in church as a family. I was seeing these connections, but I wasn't feeling it. So I suggested maybe we try some other churches, and she was more than willing. She was just glad to see me in church. And so we started these other churches, and we would attend some church and then not, and this went on for years. Ironically, we lived right down the street from this church and never tried it. But a woman that she worked with every day attended this church, and she's the one that invited us. And that was probably over 12 years ago. We walk in the door, and I can just say I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm smiling as I'm walking out. My wife looks at me, Gina looks at me, and she says, what are you smiling at? And I said, well, I found my church, and I hope you come with me. But as we started attending more, I started noticing changes in me. I didn't care about the partying as much. I didn't feel like as much was missing. Some of the people that I associated with, I was seeing them in a different light because I was starting to get connected here more. I was getting connected with different people that would accept me for who I am, even in spite of who I was. And so I gave my life to Christ through Crossroads Church. Time went on, and then I was baptized. It was not an overnight process for me. I didn't just start coming to church and say, oh, thank you, Jesus, I'm different. I still struggled with addiction. I struggled with alcoholism. I struggled with many things every day. But slowly but surely, I started feeling a change. Then one day, after baptism, we were getting connected more. I did a discipleship walk, and it was very freeing. There's so many things that we were able to participate here that I found myself not wanting to be the person I used to be. I felt a freedom that there are no words to express. So I became different. Back in 2016, I decided I didn't even want to drink anymore. I have not had a drop to drink in 6 years, which is That's a lot for anyone that knew me. When I started my walk with Christ, again, I didn't start my true walk with Christ. I was about 40. And I started inviting my parents to church. And I said, you guys should come, you guys should come. And my mom looked at me. We were in the kitchen. I'll never forget this moment. She looked at me and she said, I'll come to church if I see it ever start making a difference in you. I'm still very broken. But I could feel a difference. I continued to invite them and invite other people. My kids are older, and all of a sudden my daughter started coming. You know, Dad, we're proud of the changes we've seen in you. And then my parents started coming. But the biggest thing that really impacted me is when she said, well, the reason why we're going is because we can see a new you. So you can say, oh, I'm going to turn my life around. I'm going to change. I'm going to do this. Man, I said that 100 times or more. But when they noticed I truly was making a change, that was very impactful. I had to make God a priority in my life. And once I did that, to see how it influenced other people was amazing to me. There are weekends here that I literally have 4 generations of my family here. My parents, my wife, my children, and my grandkids here. And it all started with a very patient, a very loving God not giving up on me. But probably the most amazing experience out of all of it. About 3 months ago, I was able to baptize 3 generations of my family. I can look back in my life and see so many times where He protected me, or He guided me, or He even saved my life. I just didn't know it then. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for His plan. I'm thankful for the brokenness. I'm thankful that I now am able to use my past, my pain, for some sort of purpose.